I've traveled to a lot of places, seen a lot of crazy things, and this has been one of the most memorable 3 days of my life.
Ladies and gentlemen, I welcome you to the Kingdom of Morocco. And the journey starts right now. You're about to witness my solo journey across the country of Morocco, 346 miles from the city of Marrakesh to the desert city of Merzouga, with ultimately one goal: to spend a night under the stars in the Sahara Desert and to catch the sunrise in the morning, come above the sand dunes. This is my first Muslim country. Out of 60 countries that I've been to, this is my favorite journey.
I've driven in cars in Puerto Rico, Costa Rica, some crazy places where the roads aren't that good. And let me tell you, this is the hands down craziest driving experience I've ever seen in my life. I'm talking about the guardrails are just rocks on the road. We're going like 60 miles an hour around turns, and there's barricades for constructions, but they don't matter. You just go right through them. So this is our third stop, and we've been on the bus for about 3 hours at this point. And you can just, the craziest part about it is the temperature difference. It's gone from like a blistering, like 80, mid 80s. Also, it's still the morning, mid 80 degrees, to where we're standing right now. I'd say it's about probably 60, 65 degrees. If you're wearing something like shorts and just a t-shirt, you're gonna be cold, which is something not expected. The most surreal culture shock so far, and I've only literally been to one place, but just driving in this, seeing that there are literal cities and people that live in cities like this is absolutely surreal. And it's basically like, you can see, it's basically just an oasis in the middle of nowhere that's just green and then just surrounded by absolute deserts. It is unreal.
We have around 1 hour 10 minutes. When we finish the visit of the place where we shot the Gladiator, Indiana Jones, the first and the third one, the Game of Thrones, the Mummy. So after visit, lunch, and after lunch, inshallah, next stop, okay? And for this visit, you can take only water and the cameras for taking the pictures. Then inshallah, we will start the visit from here by foot. Water, cameras, guys, then we go. Vámonos, yalla.
So the location we're at now is called the Entrance of the Sahara, and he was just listing off a list of movies that have been filmed here, including the Indiana Jones movies. Gladiator was filmed here, and apparently Indiana Jones 5 is going to be filmed here, and I didn't even know that there was an Indiana Jones 5. And I even forgot to mention one of my favorite series, Game of Thrones, was filmed here. They were saying season 3, basically where Khaleesi was. I believe they were saying the birth of the dragons, but if that's true, that is awesome. The amount of people in here at the moment doesn't even come close to what happened in Marrakesh. The interesting part about this is, even though it's a tourist attraction, the guy was saying that 26 people actually still live here. 8 families live in these houses, and tourists are coming through every day, so it's super interesting.
To give you a sense of what Marrakesh is, it is the most crowded and chaotic place I've ever been to in my life. There are thousands of people in the streets. There are super small alleys that are very confusing to get around, and it's almost impossible to film. As even though Marrakesh I think is beautiful, but as somewhere for safety and for filming, I would definitely recommend not doing it there.
After it's like this. Can you see? Now the color is fixed, it's a dry. The black is a tea with the sugar, and the yellow is a saffron, then the blue is indigo. And everything what you see inside is made with the same technique. Then this technique actually it's only here in this village, it's not anywhere.
This entire time it's like been hard for it to hit me that I'm actually in Africa, as like I'm trying to hit every continent possible, but being here, being literally surrounded by endless amounts of desert, it has finally hit that we are in Africa.
What do you recommend in holiday?
What do you? Well, so
We intend to stop by Lisbon and Porto.
okay. So Lisbon is definitely stay longer than Porto.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Lisbon is much larger than Porto. Porto you can honestly do in about 3 days, 4 days. Lisbon, I would say if you have a week, do a week. But you should go to this place called Sintra.
Central.
Yeah, it's
Like Santa.
no Sintra. Tra. Yeah. To like 5 more seconds.
And after 7 hours of driving, going to multiple cities, being out in the sun, we have finally reached our hotel, and that wraps up night 1 of the trip to the Sahara Desert.
And it's time for my arguably favorite thing to do while traveling is doing a hotel room review. So this is the hotel that came in the package. It's nothing special, it's nothing crazy, but I'm going to show you guys around and you judge for yourself what you think it's worth.
Then we have, honestly, the view is the best part. Now, this is part of our tour into the desert, and it says that this is a 4-star hotel. For the States purposes, definitely not, but for Moroccan purposes, I guess it's 4 stars.
And this is day 2. Day 2 is much more eventful than day 1. We're actually going to go into a real Berber's house, which is a type of people here in Morocco. They're going to show us some of the things that they make. I'm not going to lie, it was a bit of a touristy part of the whole excursion, but you know what? I don't mind learning about someone's culture. We're going to see some live music that's just being played along the road, and we're going to discover some of the natural beauty of Morocco. I've said this so many times along my travel. The most geographically diverse country in the world that I have visited out of the 60 to 61 countries is Morocco, and I think you're going to see that in this part.
Portugal. Cinco Portugais.
Porto.
Porto. Todos Porto?
Porto. Sim.
Porto. Tá bom.
I was just in Porto, it was beautiful.
Afonso? Du. Ansi?
So, and normally because these families they have, which is like a big problem with the intermediate people, so that they try to push them to use this tradition step by step, and we try to encourage them to keep continuing this tradition to the next generation. Otherwise, it will be lost a long time ago. Okay? Then, I mean, it's the opportunity also for them, I mean, to get like a publish, and also, I mean, a little bit income for those ladies and women, I mean, divorced. So because I mean they make, which is like a beautiful things with the simple material, which is like takes a long time. So then of course they will explain everything to you inside.
If you know me, you know that I tell it how it is. What we were briefed on what we were going to go see was a traditional home of the Berbers and learn exactly how they make their material, rugs, clothing, etc. However, I'm going to be 100% honest with you, this was more of a touristy sales pitch. Basically, we were brought into this house here that you're gonna see, and we were given tea, basic traditional Moroccan hospitality. However, after some time, it was very evident that the only reason that we were there was for them to sell us rugs and for people to buy and so forth. As a backpacker, this is something, not even a backpacker, as a traveler, this is something that I don't like to do, and one of the reasons that I never do tours. However, the whole grand scheme of this tour, 3 days across Morocco, was entirely worth it, even if we had to sit through about an hour of this basically selling show. You know, I understand why they do it. We're in a remote part of the country where any kind of income counts. However, this is not the Morocco that I came to see. So if you find yourself in a similar situation like this, kind of understand exactly what's going on. Don't be disrespectful about it. If you're not interested in it, just sit there, play along. You don't have to buy anything, and just wait till you get to the next situation.
So we had just left the house, and today is going to be an incredibly long day. That was the first part, and it's only about 10:30, but now we're going to head up into the Atlas Mountains, and we're going to have lunch at some point, drive about another 3 hours, and then we are heading onto the camels to ride into the Sahara to spend the night. However, at the moment, we are looking at like an oasis situation where it's just full of farming and greenery, but it's surrounded by desert. And yes, the sun is officially getting to me. I will say, normally I don't do these super touristy like tour groups. However, the situation that we're in, the price for it's literally $100 for 3 days, stay in a hotel, all your food is included, and go to the desert. Just my one issue is every time you stop somewhere, it's basically like a sales pitch trying to get you to buy something. Like you can see here, we stopped off basically to look at this awesome view. However, they're selling us the scarves and whatnot and a bunch of different other stuffs over there. It just gets old kind of quick. That's kind of why I stay away from the tour. If I was able to do something like this on my own, I totally would. You can, but just for the price that you pay and the value that you get out of it, it kind of makes sense just to do it. We've officially made it to the beginning of the desert.
Ladies and gentlemen, I want to welcome you to the Sahara Desert. This is a core memory of my travels around the world. This is one of the greatest experiences that I've ever done, and I recommend every single person in the world, if possible, to come and do this. It had me smiling from ear to ear, and it made me feel like a kid again. We are going to ride into the middle of the Sahara Desert and spend the night there under the stars in what seems like a fantasy, but in turn, it's reality.
I've never ridden a horse, so might as well start with a cat. What? No way. Oh my God. This is in the middle of the desert. Let me show you around this oasis tent in the middle of the Sahara Desert. So first, when you walk in, you are greeted by this king-size bed right here. The sheets are so incredibly soft. I've already sat down on it. It's phenomenal. Right here, you have a little sitting space with a table. In here, we have a sink. You can see I'm in my boxers. There's a private toilet right there and a shower. In the middle of the Sahara Desert. How cool is that? You know when there's certain things that you really can't believe that you just did? Well, watching the sunrise over a sand dune in the middle of the Sahara Desert in northern Africa is one of those things. And me saying it doesn't change the fact that I don't believe that I just did it. I've traveled to a lot of places, seen a lot of crazy things, and this has been one of the most memorable 3 days of my life, by far. And this is what our little tent village looked like. But now, let's go grab some breakfast, take one last good look at the sun over the Sahara, and head on back to Marrakesh.
And ladies and gentlemen, I would like to thank you sincerely for joining me on this journey across Morocco. And what I would like you to remember is this is just one portion of the country. I didn't even document the entire trip along Morocco, which I stayed in the country for about 3 more weeks. What I hope this film does is paint a picture of Morocco that maybe you didn't know about, maybe you didn't think about the country, or you were just unaware. And I hope that you'll consider going to Morocco in the future, because not only is the landscape beautiful, but the people are so friendly and kind. I also want to give a big thanks to the Patreon and Instagram subscribers who make this video possible. And with that, always remember, travel's a privilege, and I'll see you in another adventure soon.